Hello. Well, here we are at video number 7. And this time we're going to talk about teacher talk. How much time in a class or rehearsal that the teacher is actually talking, and how much time are the students actively doing something? How much are they making music or being engaged? If you're like everyone else and me, we don't like to be lectured. We would prefer to be doing something to learn rather than being told. We entered music as something that we loved, probably as a child because you enjoyed it so much and you wanted to make music all the time. And going to a class and having someone talk to you about making music could be exasperating because we want to start beating on those instruments or beating on the instruments or blowing in the recorder or whatever it is. Students are there for the experience, not the explanation. It's one of my dear colleagues has said that to her classes, and I borrowed that because I think it's wonderful. I think it explains exactly. Yes, explanations are important sometimes. We tend to, as teachers, talk too much though and explain too much rather than letting students problem solve and find things out for themselves. If students are actively engaged in figuring out how to do things, they're probably going to remember it too quicker than if we just tell them how to do it. I can relate this to when I was in band in the 7th grade. I absolutely adored my teacher, but I absolutely knew that when the baton cut off, that it was going to be about a 5-minute conversation with her telling us what to do. And I wanted to play. And I think quite a few of the students, we were behind our music stands and we were noodling on our horns without blowing in them. It tended to be a typical thing that happened. She was a sweetheart and a wonderful teacher, but we wanted to play more and talk less, or listen to her talk less. One way to pay attention to this, or at least test yourself, is to video record yourself when you're teaching, and I still do this every semester, even though I would say that it's still not my favorite activity because it's enlightening and I see some things that I need to start practicing what I preach once in a while. But if you videotape yourself and then sit down with a stopwatch afterwards, just have one on your phone probably, every time that you're talking you start the timer, or every time the students are listening passively, and then when the students start doing something, then you can take that timer off. How many seconds add up, how many minutes add up through the whole lesson that the students are engaged, and other times when they're passive or when they're simply listening. And what's the ratio of that? There's a variety of perspectives of what the ratio is. My perspective is that I want as much hands-on with the students as possible, so aiming for something more than 90%. Other people disagree with it. You have to decide what's the best mix for you. This is a great way, especially for novice teachers or for pre-service teachers, to really get a handle of if you have a 10-minute lesson, which has happened sometimes that I've observed, and the teacher is talking for 6 minutes, then that's probably not a good perspective. And the students are listening much more than they're hands-on, actively engaged in making music. We sometimes can have a challenge to teach a class with only speaking 10 words. It's a stretch, it's hard to do. It's possible. You get very particular and very deliberate about which words you do speak, though. If you've got a 50-minute lesson and you can only speak 10 words, what are those 10 words going to be? But modeling with a lot of nonverbal communication, it is possible. We want to allow our students the chance to dialogue. Now, I know I've been in classes where we never spoke anything unless we were talked to, we were asked to have a conversation or to answer a question. I've also been in classes where lots of people talked all the time and talked to each other. We all have to find out our own teaching style. Although the more we can allow students to dialogue and be able to discuss problems with each other, turning and talking to someone that's either your stand partner or someone in your choir or someone sitting in class with you in general music, and trying to figure out a solution to a problem, maybe playing out some kind of an improvisation pattern on Orff instruments or something like that, or why isn't that particular tone in your section? Why are maybe we're having trouble with the rhythm? Are there a bunch of 16th notes? Having the students figure that out themselves rather than the teacher telling them is definitely, it is time consuming, yet in my view it is a valuable process to go through because it gives the students an opportunity to become independent musicians, independent thinkers. And that's what we do want down the road. So what's the takeaway with this video? It's telling is not teaching. Telling is telling. And our students need to be engaged in music making or discussing the music making. They have to be doing something for them to be able to learn it. Remember from previous videos, kinesthetic, auditory, visual. It's very hard to use all three of those if someone's just telling you what's going on. One more video left. You've made it this far. I sure hope you'll join me on the next one. Thank you.